The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your look at conservation news from around the nation. It's been a little bit since we've been together. Welcome back. I know in our last episode that we were together, I mentioned we were going to try to put together a program for last week, but wasn't sure about the logistics. And as it turns out, I just wasn't able to deliver. So my apologies for those that tune in faithfully. I was on location in Indiana with our partners at the Fur Takers of America's College as a student. I can't wait to delve into all of that in a future feature episode with our partners at Fur Takers of America, but I can report to you my absence was well worth it. Great information coming out of that educational experience, the hands-on information, the current happenings with the technology and the equipment, what's going on with today's trapper. So we're back. We're back to regular scheduling, and I will bring you the headlines from last week. Hopefully you're getting the EPUB, as I encourage every week for you guys to sign up, congressionalsportsman.org. congressionalsportsman.org. Sign up for that EPUB. So in case I miss you guys, you never miss the headlines. Before we do that, little housekeeping. I want to thank our sponsors for this week, Bass Pro Shops, Richard Childress Racing, kicking it back to last week to Hornady. Shout out to Hornady, even though we weren't on air. And this week, International Order, Teddy Roosevelt. Thank you all for your continued support of the program. Our Pop for Conservation fundraiser is still ongoing. Head to pop4conservation.com. That's POP, the number 4 conservation.com, pop4conservation.com. Vehicles, guns, optics, hunts, all sorts of equipment there. Get your raffle tickets. Your contributions, your participation goes a long way in helping us deliver our mission for you in the state houses on the Hill and then the offices of your governors. We appreciate it. Again, that's POP, P-O-P, the number 4, conservation.com. All right. I think we've got all the housekeeping out of the way. Let's kick it back to last week real quick. Don't have a whole lot of time to delve into these, but again, trusting that you're subscribed to the EPUB or you're capable of going to the website to read these. We'll hit them real quick and then get into this week's edition. So our lead story last week, we had our NAS Executive Council meeting. In the last frontier. Yes, we were all the way up in Alaska. It was a great meeting, a lot of planning. Looking forward to our NAS summit, talking about priority policies, goals for NASC. Well attended and a lot of good come out of that meeting. I can report to you there. It looks like last week there was a California bill that carries potential consequences for dog breeders and owners. So if you're into the hunting dogs, the hounding, the retrieving dogs, there's going to be a article there of consequence and interest to you. Let the Feathers Fly. Tennessee Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus hosts a successful annual dove hunt. One of our EC members, Jesse Chisholm, who you will hear from tomorrow as we get fired up about NAS. We'll do a little recap of the EC meeting, but they hosted a nice dove hunt there, so you can check that out and hear more from our Representative Jesse Chisholm. The importance of staying involved with your state's fish and wildlife agency kind of goes without saying. I'm sure you can unpack that one and just either reiterate what you already know, or um, might learn a thing or two. So check that article out. And then finally, more on dove hunting. First fall hunting opportunities open across the Great Plains. I'm jealous. Most of y'all have dove seasons. I think I've covered this here in the Northeast. We do not, and it's an unfortunate missed opportunity. Quite frankly, we have more than enough doves to support a hunt all throughout. I think Rhode Island might be the only one in the Northeast, well, actually Northeast New England, to have a dove hunt. But you guys in the South and the Midwest and the Plains, it's a rock and roll and good time, and um, you got the management and the resource there, and it's a great opportunity for youngsters to get out there. And anyway, check that out. Talk about doves again. I'm just gonna sound sad because I'm jealous and I want to do it. Um, Nevertheless, maybe opportunities for change in these other states. All right, diving into this week, a full week of press releases and news. First of all, the CSF annual banquet on the Hill was had, and there CSF recognized Richard Childress with the Dingle Young Sportsman's Legacy Award for a lifetime of conservation leadership. We'll jump into that. An internal announcement letting you guys know Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation welcomed the new Director of Marketing Communications. Navigating marine waters become clear in the Senate. Not some good news here. EHD outbreak and updated CWD rules in Eastern Washington. As I mentioned, we had our 36th annual banquet. We'll unpack that. Dedicated funding for conservation efforts in the South. Room to roam, increasing public access for sporting conservation community. And finally, we wrap things up in Pennsylvania, where they celebrated National Hunting and Fishing Day at the state capitol in Harrisburg. All right, all that and more. Let's jump into it. During the 36th annual Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation banquet and auction, the legendary NASCAR Hall of Famer, sportsman, lifelong conservationist, and immediate past chairman of CSF Board of Directors, Richard Childress, was honored with the Dingle Young Sportsman Legacy Award, CSF's highest award. The award was presented to Richard Childress by last year's Dingle Young Sportsman Legacy Award winner, Johnny Morris, who is the owner of Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's and longtime friend of Mr. Childress. The Dingle Young Award, named in honor of bipartisan conservation champions Reps John Dingle Sr. and Jr. and Debbie Dingle, and Rep Don Young, recognizes extraordinary individuals who have demonstrated a lifelong commitment to promoting conservation, protecting America's incredible outdoor traditions, and advocating advancing access and opportunity for sportsmen and women across the nation. Quote, Richard Childress completely embodies the spirit behind the Dingle Young Sportsman Legacy Award. His passion for the outdoors is matched only by his commitment to protecting it for future generations, and he has made an immense difference on sportsmen and women throughout the nation, said Jeff Crane, President and CEO of CSF. He continues, Richard leads his life with purpose, integrity, and a deep respect for America's sporting traditions, and I am just proud to call him a friend, as I am to see his contributions recognized through this award, end quote. To be eligible for the Dingle Young Award, an individual must demonstrate leadership for a long-standing dedication and advocacy, advancing, I did it again, two or more of the following areas: national conservation policy, the role of sportsmen and women in conservation, expanding public access to hunting, fishing, and or recreational shooting, increasing the engagement of youth and underrepresented communities in sporting pursuits, and promoting our outdoor heritage in the policy arena. Richard Childress has made a profound and lasting impact on conservation through his unwavering commitment to protect wildlife, conserving habitats, and promoting America's outdoor heritage. As a lifelong outdoorsman, Childress has leveraged his success in NASCAR and business to champion conservation causes and has supported key initiatives that benefit wildlife research, habitat restoration, and public access to hunting and fishing. Childress also previously served as the chairman of CSF's board of directors, where he worked closely with and provided constant support and guidance to CSF leadership and staff in their work towards protecting and advancing America's outdoor heritage. Quote, it's an incredible honor to receive this award that bears the names of some of the most dedicated champions of conservation our country has ever known. The outdoors has always been a part of who I am, whether it's hunting, fishing, or simply being a steward of the land, said Childress. He continues, I'm deeply grateful to the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, to Johnny Morris for presenting this award, and to the many conservation leaders who have inspired me along the way. This recognition isn't just about me. It's about ensuring future generations can enjoy the same freedoms, access, and connection to the outdoors that we've all been blessed with. I'll continue doing everything I can to carry that legacy forward, end quote. In attendance for the award ceremony were members of the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus, leaders from the outdoor industry, and other conservation organizations, all of whom have been touched by Childress's contributions in one way or another. CSF applauds Childress for his unwavering dedication to America's sportsmen and women, and we are honored to celebrate his remarkable contributions to the sporting conservation community with the Dingle Young Sportsman Legacy Award. Congratulations on a lifetime of work, a well-deserved award, and he's not stopping, there's no doubt. Um, Having been around him multiple times and having him been a guest on this show, the passion is there. That bleeds down to his family, his grandkids. You can see that, and when he tells stories about his two NASCAR driver grandsons and tells those stories, it's wonderful to watch, and the expressions on his face. It still seems like for him it was very recent, and telling stories of them being young guys. So again, congratulations. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. Childress, and keep up the good work, sir. As I alluded to or said earlier, we welcomed, we being CSF, Alyssa Gay, who has joined the organization as director of marketing and communications. So you guys know Alyssa is a strategic communications leader with more than 8 years of experience advancing mission-driven organizations throughout innovative marketing, advocacy, and stakeholder engagement. This quote from our CEO and president, Jeff Crane: Alyssa's proven track record in marketing and creativity combined with her passion for the outdoors and conservation makes her the perfect fit for CSF. We look forward to having Alyssa on our team to help elevate and grow CSF's brand, furthering our impact for the betterment of sportsmen and women, end quote. Welcome to the team, Alyssa. No doubt you guys will either see her at events or you will see some of her work out in the universe. All right, let's get back into it with the policy here. This article from Chris Horton. There are 7 federal agencies under 4 different cabinet level secretaries that have some degree of jurisdiction and regulatory authority over what hunters, anglers, and boaters can or cannot do on navigable waters. As a complement to the Map Waters Act, H.R. 187, for the Department of the Interior and the Department of Agriculture that recently cleared the U.S. House of Representatives, the Map Oceans Act recently passed the Senate and requires the federal agency with the largest area of U.S. waters under their jurisdiction, NOAA, to digitize and map public information about federal fishing and boating restrictions in marine waters. This bill is one of many priority pieces of legislation for CSF in the 119th Congress. Here's the highlights. NOAA has jurisdictional authority over our nation's marine fisheries resources from the limit of state or territorial sea, or about 3 or 9 miles from shore, depending on the state, out to the 200-mile limit of the Exclusive Economic Zone, the EEZ. That's a lot of water, and that brings a lot of rules. In addition to the 1.24 million square miles of water in marine protected areas, mostly under their authority, NOAA also manages 460 fish stocks or stock complexes through the 8 regional fishery management councils. Last week, the Modernizing Access to Our Public Oceans Act, also known as MAP Oceans Act, cleared the Senate unanimously. That's great. Introduced by Senator Ted Cruz and CSC Senate Vice Chair Senator Angus King of Maine, the bill seeks to make accessing federal waters easier by eliminating any confusion for public recreation on our nation's marine and coastal waterways through standardizing, consolidating, and publishing digital data concerning regulations on marine waters under federal management. This quote here: "We applaud Senator Cruz and Congressional Sportsmen Caucus co-chair Senator King for their leadership in passing the MAP Oceans Act out of the Senate," said Chris Horton, Senior Director of Fisheries Policy for CSF. Chris continues, "This much-needed bipartisan legislation will finally remove the uncertainty about where we can fish and with what gear that can often create barriers for angler participation on our coastal waters," end quote. The MAP Oceans Act will direct NOAA to digitize and make available to the public any access or recreational use restriction on marine waters under the agency's jurisdiction. Marine protected areas cover 26% of U.S. marine waters, most of which are under NOAA's watch. In addition, though NOAA's 8 regional fishery management councils, 46 management plans covering 460 fish stocks or stock complexes create a mosaic of fishing regulations and restrictions that are often location specific and can be cumbersome to understate. That was cumbersome to say. All that stuff. If you're following, maybe you follow it. I'm the one reading it and saying it. So if it's a cumbersome just to read it, can you imagine interpreting all this? Well, this is clearing it up, right? So I'll go back to Chris's article here. The MAP Oceans Act will ultimately benefit anglers and boaters by helping them know which waters are open or closed for boating or fishing, if there are seasonal closures for certain species of fish in specific locations, and what type of fishing gear is allowable in any of the given areas, among others. MAP Oceans legislation was introduced earlier this spring in the House by Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus member Congressman Russell Fry out of South Carolina and Congressman Mike Levine out of California. CSF looks forward to working with the bill sponsors to clear the legislation in the House and send it to the president's desk in 2025. It's good stuff. This from Marie Newmiller. EHD outbreak and updated CWD rules in Eastern Washington. Hunters in Eastern Washington are facing new challenges from recent EHD outbreak, which threatens deer populations and could impact hunting success in affected areas. Alongside this, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife has implemented stricter ungulate regulations in response to CWD to minimize the spread of the fatal prion disease. Staying informed on these developments, including prevention tips and reporting protocols, is crucial for ethical hunting, wildlife conservation, and ensuring the long-term health of big game herds. Highlights here. So the department announced the EHD outbreak in Eastern Washington, urging hunters to report sick or dead deer through their online portal or by calling, get your pens, area code 509-892-1001. Again, area code 509-892-1001 while they monitor and manage the disease spread. In May of 2025, the state agency introduced new rules, including a statewide ban on baiting and feeding of deer, elk, and moose, along with mandatory CWD testing in Region 1, Eastern Washington. Fall 2025 marks the first hunting season with baiting bans in place. Practical tips for hunters in the impact areas include avoiding sick animals, not providing supplemental food or water, and using the online tool for rapid disease reporting provided by the agency. All right, so as the fall hunting season commence, as we said, the agency has issued urgent alerts for the big game hunters in eastern Washington, where EHD or blue tongue is affecting deer population. All right, here's the breakdown. EHD is a viral illness transmitted by biting midges, causing severe hemorrhaging in affected animals, leading to symptoms like lethargy, excessive salivation, foaming at the mouth or nose, mouth lesions, a swollen blue tongue. It sounds terrible. Notice I don't know, midges are little tiny biting flies. While the disease doesn't affect humans, it can decimate local herds, impacting hunting opportunity and management efforts. I know you folks out in the West have been used to this. Seen stuff here, Midwest East stuff is kind of around and along with CWD, but folks in the West have been dealing with this stuff for years. This blue tongue, it's awful. And the agency's recent Facebook announcement highlighted cases in the region reminiscent of the significant 2021 outbreak that prompted temporary season adjustments. Hunters are encouraged to remain vigilant during outings, as affected deer may appear disoriented or unresponsive, and outbreaks can lead to a rapid die-off, even in otherwise healthy-looking animals. Compounding these concerns are updated regulations to combat CWD. Which is a neurological disorder that poses a significant threat to deer, elk, moose across North America. In the eastern region, particularly the 100 series game management units, hunters must now submit lymph node samples for CWD testing within 5 days of harvesting deer, elk, moose, or obtaining a salvage permit. New CWD rules were enrolled in May of 25, making this fall the first hunting season with a ban on attractants like artificial feeding and cervid urine glandular base scent lures. Additionally, transportation restrictions have been tightened. Whole carcasses from out of state or within restricted areas cannot be transported through Washington. Only deboned meat, cleaned skulls, and antlers, velvet removed here. Whoa. Hides without head or finished taxidermy are permitted. These measures are part of the state agency's comprehensive CWD management plan aiming to detect and contain disease, protecting Washington's cherished outdoor traditions. I did not know about the velvet being removed, which is a bummer. Like, I mean, if you're, let me put some quotes or air finger quotes around this. Early season, a lot of people like to have a shot at something antlered in velvet. That's pretty cool and it's unique, and you only get so long to do so before they rub it all off and get get hard antlered. So I imagine if you get a nice harvest outside the state that's velvet, man, that's a bummer. I guess you'd have to leave it there with a local taxidermist, have them do it all up, and then I guess you could probably get it back, as they say here, as finished taxidermy that is permitted. But I don't think you're getting the raw one over there. That's a bummer. Let's finish it up here. Fish and Wildlife there in Washington offers targeted guidance on their website for hunters venturing into Northeast Washington, a favored hunting location for deer and elk amid these outbreaks. First and foremost, avoid shooting or consuming obviously sick animals. Refrain from providing supplemental food or fresh water, as this can habituate wildlife to human areas and potentially accelerate transmission. If you spot lame, lethargic, or symptomatic deer, report them immediately utilizing the department's online reporting tool or calling Region 1. For carcass disposal, especially off site, contact your regional department office, as transport rules also apply to deer that have died from causes like illness or vehicle strikes. By following these protocols, hunters not only safeguard their own experience, but also play a vital role in conserving Washington's diverse cervid herds for future generations. Yeah, that all is terrible. uh, Harkening back what I always say here and reiterating, get the EPUB, guys. As you're listening to this, or if I say something that you're queuing into, the online portal, the new rules in Marie's article are all linked. You go there, follow those links, get more of that information. Again, more of your own homework. There's a whole link here dedicated to EHD. You can learn more about it. So get the EPUB. I promise you, it's worth your time. It's free. Let's talk about our banquet here, 36th annual banquet on the Hill. Last night being this is a little dated here, so obviously it's not last night, but last week, CSF hosted the 36th annual banquet and auction honoring the bipartisan leadership of the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus and its continued commitment to protecting America's sporting traditions, conservation heritage. For decades, CSF's annual banquet and auction has provided an unmatched opportunity for industry leaders and conservation partners to unite with the very policymakers that they are championing hunting, angling, trapping, and recreational shooting issues on Capitol Hill. The banquet welcomed members of Congress from both sides of the aisle, including bipartisan CSC leaders, Senator Angus King of Maine, Representative Bruce Westerman of Arkansas, Representative Jimmy Panetta out of California, Representative August Plouffe, Texas, and Representative Troy Carter of Louisiana. Also in attendance at the banquet were special guests Johnny Morris, Richard Childress, and Deputy Secretary of the Interior Kate McGregor. With over 225 members representing both House and Senate, the CSC remains one of the most influential bipartisan caucuses in Congress. Throughout 2025, the CSC has continued to drive forward pro-conservation, pro-sportsman legislation, resulting in wins such as the House passage of the Map Waters Act, the Shark Act, the Fix Our Forest Act, and much more. All of those, by the way, have been covered on this very program, and you guys have heard that. So this is not new information to you unless you're new to the show. Continuing, their efforts reflect a steadfast commitment to America's 55 million sportsmen and women who depend on sound conservation policy to continue to do what they are so passionate about. Quote, now in its 36th year, the annual banquet has grown into far more than a celebration. It's the single largest gathering of pro-sportsman legislators and conservation leaders on Capitol Hill, said CSF President and CEO Jeff Crane. He continues, this event serves as a critical touch point for building relationships, reflecting on policy wins, and aligning our goals for the future. We are truly grateful to the partners and sponsors that help make this event happen, end quote. CSF extends its deep appreciation to our mission partners and the sponsors who made the 36th annual banquet a success. Sponsors include Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, National Shooting Sports Foundation, Outdoor Sportsman's Group, Richard Childress Racing, and the Wild Sheep Foundation. Our host sponsors, Dallas Safari Club, Double Eagle, Ducks Unlimited, Grab a Gun, Gun Broker, Hornady Manufacturing Company, International Order Teddy Roosevelt, Isaac Walton League of America, Cypress Chapter, MVP Robotics, Safari Club International, Shield, Shimano, Silencer Central, Silencer Shop, the Kinetic Group, and Valero. I heard it was great. As I said at the top, I was eyes and eyebrows deep immersion and trapping, so I was not able to attend the banquet. But I have heard that it was a time was had by those in attendance and those who could attend. So um, I'll leave it at that. Great that happy that there was a great event there. All right. Ooh, we got a combo article here. Two contributors from the Southeast, Connor Barker, Mark Lance. This one here, dedicated funding for conservation efforts in the South. For over 80 years, sportsmen and women have been the primary funders of conservation in North America. As we all know, say it with me, the user pay public benefits structure of the American system of, yes, conservation funding. Thanks for playing along. And however, some southeastern states have taken a proactive approach at providing a direct stream of conservation funding to supplement money generated through license sales and excise taxes in a world of growing inflation. In 2018, the Georgia General Assembly and Georgia voters passed the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Act by 83%. That's an article link there. This created the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program, which is funded by taking a percentage of the sales and use tax from outdoor recreation equipment sales to be used for a variety of conservation purposes. In 2022, Mississippi passed legislation establishing the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund, which is currently being funded by appropriations by the legislature to provide additional funding available for a federal match to further conservation, wildlife habitat, and bolster recreational and public access opportunity for Mississippi sportsmen and women. Also in 2022, Louisiana passed House Bill 406, which established the Louisiana Outdoor Forever program. Similarly to Mississippi, funding is received through a legislative apportion and is being used to further conservation efforts in the sportsman's paradise. As the cost of living continues to creep up for most Americans, so does the cost of doing business in most sectors. Science-based fish and wildlife management is no different. State fish and wildlife agencies are strapped with the burden of raising operating costs, no different than any other business. As the increase in users and thus hunting and fishing license sales from the COVID-19 pandemic have mostly resided, many state fish and wildlife agencies are searching for alternate dedicated funding sources to combat rising costs to continue to execute the critical on-the-ground conservation work essential to supporting our time-honored traditions. The several southern states we just mentioned are leading by example and finding different ways to get dedicated funding mechanisms. All right, going back to it. So Georgia authorized up to 80% of all the money received by the state from the sales and tax collected from outdoor recreational equipment to go to the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund to be used to fund protection of conservation land, which will support parks and trails, the ability to protect and acquire lands critical for wildlife, and more across the state of Georgia. We talked about Mississippi's Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. It does not yet incorporate the sale and use tax dollars generated from the sale of outdoor sporting good equipment like Georgia. It still provides a significant funding mechanism to encourage investment into our outdoor recreation and conservation projects in Mississippi. The Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund can be used for a wide variety of purposes, including acquisition of areas used for hunting and fishing, improvement of state parks and trails, enhancement of public land and waters access, and restoration of privately owned working agricultural and forest lands, wetlands, grasslands, and other habitats critical to Mississippi's wildlife. Last year, House Bill 999 would have deposited a portion of pre-existing sales tax revenue on certain outdoor sporting goods into Mississippi's Stewardship Trust Fund, further strengthening Mississippi's commitment to wildlife conservation and providing dedicated sources of funding for the program that would not be reliant on legislative apportions. Very similar to Mississippi, Louisiana established Louisiana Outdoor Forever program in 2022. The program was initially funded with $10 million in seed money aimed at fish and wildlife habitat, water quality, or public hunting and fishing access improvement. Ideally, both Louisiana and Mississippi will ultimately secure self-sustaining funding like a dedicated tax on outdoor recreation equipment, similarly to Georgia. CSF encourages states that are interested in pursuing dedicated conservation funding mechanism to look at a successful example like the ones we've just highlighted. As states begin to explore new ways to fund conservation, like Tennessee, for example, CSF looks forward to working closely with partners and the state's respective legislative sportsmen's caucuses to make meaningful advances in conservation. I will say, I was having a conversation up here where I live with a caucus member about this very thing. Some of your more fiscally conservative states, this it's hard to sell some of this stuff, I guess. And I know we've talked about it on the show. When you try to, so let me start over. When we bring up the idea of wildlife councils, right? And we've covered this, and we ask, if we're going to get this off the ground, you look at Michigan and Colorado. One of them charges an extra $1.50. The other one charges $1 add on to the license fee. Now, where I live, I suspect other places, but I can speak from experience. If we were to ask another dollar on an already very cheap resident license and non-resident license, I might point out, in New Hampshire, a great majority of the sporting community would come unhinged. They would lose their minds for something that is a direct benefit and would only be $1 a year or $1.50, right? If the model bears out. Now, I have theorized and I've had conversations, if a similar model, as we've highlighted in Mark and Connor's article, were implemented, New Hampshire might be weird because we have no sales tax and that's a big pound your chest, rah thing. But I suspect if you sold it and we talked to the people, the constituents, our leaders, and said, look, there's going to be a percentage that is dedicated. It's not just a sales tax going to the state coffers and some general fund, but where it directly benefits. Here's the juxtaposition. I'm willing to bet Northeastern sportsmen and New Hampshire specifically would be all about that. And it would be significantly more than that extra $1 or $1.50, ironically. But because it would be baked in the cake and you're not really seeing it, I think people would get all of this. So all this to say, it's a great model. It's dedicated funds. It's a solution to an ever-growing problem. And when you have a constituency that would kind of blow up a little bit over an extra $1 on their license, but through their purchases could probably generate, I don't know, I'm guessing a couple $100 a year in their own purchases. Whatever, we'll take the couple $100. So, there's options here. And if you're a legislator in any of these states where this is not occurring, this might be a viable option for you. Wildlife councils are a viable option for everybody. We should be exploring that where they're not held in 48 out of 50 states. So that's not to undersell that and oversell the in-state tax. They're both important. And just kind of commenting on that, at least in my own backyard. So, all right, we got 2 more here, and then we'll try to wrap this extended version as we covered last week briefly. This from Kent Keene, Room to Roam, increasing public access for the sporting conservation community. Across the Midwest, public hunting opportunities are particularly limited, given that the vast proportion of the Midwest states are held in private ownership. Many sportsmen and women are relegated to hunt state and federal lands that are suffering from increased competition and, as a result, decreasing hunter satisfaction. For the sporting conservation community, increasing both the quality and quantity of public access to both public and private lands is critical for the future success of hunter R3 efforts. Highlights here: lack of places to hunt is often cited as the primary reason for lapsed sportsmen and women no longer participating in our outdoor traditions. Across the Midwest, public hunting opportunities can be especially limited due to land ownership trends leading to overcrowding and lower hunting satisfaction. Through programs like the Farm Bill's Voluntary Public Access Habitat Incentive Program, VPA HIP, expanded state level no net loss provisions, and increased support for public land habitat management, there are opportunities to provide quality opportunities for Midwestern sportsmen and women. Whether the result of actual overcrowding or the echo chamber that is often found online in the hunting forums, competition among hunting or hunters on public lands has seemingly never been greater. In the Midwest, where many states boast more than 90% of the land held in private ownership, this competition represents a major challenge for the future of hunting. As a result of increased competition, many public land hunters are reporting low hunter satisfaction, leading to many calls to action designed to remedy the situation. While non residents are often the recipient of much of the blame for public land crowding, the problem extends well beyond their persistence. Talk to an older generation, and you'll hear stories of knocking on doors and getting permission to hunt private land with a simple ask and a handshake. While some may still have this luxury today, the business of private leases has slammed the door on many who would lack the financial means to these lands on which to hunt. I have thoughts. I have many thoughts. Continuing, this has driven many of those hunters to the relatively limited state and federal lands, which may not be able to support the influx of users. So, what can be done? Well, there are a few different ways to get to a solution, but all involve an increase in both the quantity and quality of public access opportunities. For example, the aforementioned Farm Bill's VPA HIP is designed to provide quality access on private lands while rewarding participating landowners and protecting their property rights. Recently, as a part of the One Big Beautiful Bill passed by Congress, the VPA HIP received an additional $70 million to fund state public access to private land programs across the country. On the state side, no net loss provisions designed to maintain an existing baseline of acres open to the public hunting are a great tool to ensure that opportunities are not depleted. Recently, Arkansas, led by Arkansas Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus member and NASC Executive Council President Representative Jeff Wardlaw, passed House Bill 1827, updating the state's no net loss baseline to include 250,000 acres leased by the Arkansas Game Fish Commission in the updated baseline. Finally, there is a strong push to reinvest in state managed public lands, with legislators exploring opportunities to supplement the American system of conservation funding with appropriations designed to return state managed lands to the quality that was once celebrated among the sportsmen and women who frequented their hidden gems. Collectively, these actions show great promise as we seek to provide adequate opportunities for all sportsmen and women, even as we continue to try and grow our ranks. I said I had lots to say. I do. I don't have time because we are running low on time for this show. But I will say this without getting down a rabbit hole. I think leasing's a dirty word. I know I'm going to get pushback from that. I'm lucky. We're lucky here in the Northeast, the top 3 New England states. It's really nice that if land is not posted, we can go and play on it. I know there's some other states throughout the country, but the majority are not that way. And I get the landowner has a little side hustle in leasing their land, but at the same time, you have a resource that is held in public trust that's running around, doesn't know political boundaries and, whatever. Again, I said I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole. I'm just going to tell you from my perspective, whenever I hear people around here talking about leasing, I just cringe because inevitably it will ruin a good thing and there will be no places left for the public to have relationships with private landowners and be part of the management cycle, the wildlife management that we are so much a part of in this country. Everybody likes a dollar. Moving on. Finally, happy news here. Pennsylvania celebrates National Hunting and Fishing Day. This from Kaylee Leaguer as we wrap. National Hunting Fishing Day brings together sportsmen and women to celebrate our rich tradition of hunting and fishing with national, state, regional, and local organizations hosting related events. Launched in 1971 by Congress, National Hunt and Fish Day has consistently recognized hunters and anglers for their leadership in conservation. National Hunt and Fish Day is observed and celebrated on the 4th Saturday in September every year. On August 29th of this very year, Governor Josh Shapiro signed a proclamation recognizing September 27th as National Hunting and Fishing Day in the Commonwealth. Earlier that week, Pennsylvania Game Commission and Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission hosted a celebration at the Pennsylvania State Capitol with state and national level sporting conservation groups to celebrate National Hunting Fishing Day and our sporting heritage. CSF spearheads the National Hunting Fishing Day proclamations at the state and federal level. Last year, CSF successfully secured a proclamation from President Biden and governors from 44 states. On Tuesday, September 9th, as we said, the Game Commission and Fish and Boat Commission held an event there in Harrisburg. It was well attended. They celebrated the importance of sportsmen and women with legislators and the public. The article author, Kaylee Leaguer, was in attendance along with other sporting conservation groups and members of the Pennsylvania Sportsmen and Women's Policy Work Group. Pennsylvania is the second largest state for hunting license sales in the United States. To no surprise, hunting and fishing play an integral role in the economy of Pennsylvania. For example, last year alone, nearly $19 billion were spent on outdoor activities in the Commonwealth. Additionally, sportsmen and women of the Commonwealth generated more than $112 million for the PGC and the Bow Commission through the American System of Conservation Funding. CSF thanks Governor Josh Shapiro for recognizing the importance of National Hunting and Fishing Day and the strong positive impact these sportsmen and women have in Pennsylvania on their economy and conservation efforts. Well done. Yeah, riding off the high of passing Sunday hunting there for Governor Shapiro. We thank him for recognizing Governor Shapiro. Only one step left, and it seems like a common sense one here to take is joining the Governor Sportsman's Caucus. We'd love to have you, Governor Shapiro. You've done so much good for the sportsmen and women of Pennsylvania. It only makes sense. It is the next obvious step in celebrating his signature on both those documents and championing the rich heritage, as he even said in his words there around the Sunday hunting and recognizing the importance of the ability to hunt on Sundays, the proud, rich tradition there in Pennsylvania, and even put a challenge down to Texas. He wants to take number one in hunting license sales. I think Sunday hunting is going to help him do it. The recognition of the sportsmen and women in Pennsylvania probably helped to that effort. And just to put the icing on the cake, Governor, joining the GSC will send a message. We appreciate you. All right, that's it. It's almost an hour into this show. We're going to call it good there, and we'll see you guys next week. Tune in tomorrow for the feature program. All right, until next Wednesday, y'all be good out there. Take care of yourselves. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. So long.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.